Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we got The Spectacular Collapse of the Trans Movement by Sydney Watson. Let's get into it.
How many genders?
That is not right. Immediately off to a terrible start. Okay, let's see.
Are there?
There are.
It's a spectrum, so like a lot.
No, it's
Can you name me a
not.
few?
You don't think that there really is any clear-cut distinction between male and female as biological categories, is that correct?
So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term.
Well, 3 years ago, a Florida
What?
family story went viral for raising a gender-neutral baby.
I remember that shit. That was so stupid.
I was fast-tracked onto puberty blockers and then testosterone.
Gender clinics across the country have seen a huge
That's
rise
disgusting.
in child referrals.
I have been misgendered 3 times in the past 24
Bro,
hours.
you look like an
Who was
alien.
banned from teaching for misgendering a pupil has lost his high court
That's
battle.
wild.
Failing to use a transgender student's preferred pronouns.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
I'm a member of the
What?
transgender.
She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
More accurately, more specifically, on what you call gender non-binary or gender non-conforming.
Bro, you look like you have too much
But
time on your
everyone
hands.
Has had enough of this.
Same.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Incogni. I hope you all liked
Yo.
the very dramatic introduction that I tried to execute for this video. I'm trying to do something different, okay? I expect all of you to tell me in the comments that I am the lord of editing. And if you don't, then I shall scream. Anyway, as many of you know who've been
Brother.
around this channel for a number of years,
Boost
I have
the ego.
continually brought you stories concerning the transgender movement and its weird cousin, the gender ideology movement. Although at
Both
this
are
point,
weird,
they're
if
more
I'm
like
being
conjoined
honest.
twins, just fused
Yeah.
together to bring
Like
the
I
rest
said,
of
both
us
are just fucking
suffering.
weird.
But I have always believed
Both
that
are weird,
had
both
the
suck ass.
ideology simply stayed on Reddit and on Tumblr and in the recesses of academia, things might have turned out differently. But no. But for the last decade
I still stand by the fact that all this happened because they shot Harambe. Harambe was our Nexus Point event.
or so, the conjoined twins have been beating down the door of every single institution, both politically, medically, socially, and basically calling for outright submission from absolutely everyone. Through force,
Yeah, it's so
mostly, and against
stupid.
all logic and reason, this ideology, these ideologies, have become mainstream. I really, really wish it had all stayed on Tumblr. As things have accelerated, I have told you stories about violent male
Yeah, this is wild. This was in Germany. 2 trans-identified male inmates housed in women's prisons were transferred out after threatening female inmates. Oh, gee, who would have fucking thought?
criminals housed with female inmates. I've walked you through the many, many ways this ideology
In fact, 2018 study found that many vulva owners don't work in trans. What the fuck am I reading? May not enjoy. Okay. What? Why? Why this though? What?
ideology has attacked and erased women and
It's so
motherhood.
stupid.
I've told you about men beating the snot out of women in women's sports, and how
No, but of course.
told you about men beating
Khalif is a man. Female boxer who fought Emain Khalif speaks out, claims Algerian boxing teammate told her Khalif had been biologically altered by living in the mountains. What the fuck is that? That is so fucking wild and stupid. This is so far out there. Biologically altered by living in the mountains. Okay, dude. He really tried to say, oh yeah, the dude's Tarzan, by the way.
the snot out of women in
He's
women's
female
sports, and how
Tarzan.
this movement has destroyed our entire
This is fucking retarded. This is so stupid. NHS Trusts Guide. Replace breastfeeding with breast/chest feeding. What? Breast milk with human milk/breast milk or chest milk. Maternity with perinatal. What the fuck does that?
Higher comprehension of the
Bro,
English
these people are
language
nothing but a bunch
so
of
that we
babies
might
that have way too
accommodate
much time
the
on their hands.
Zirzims and their
I
chest
know why.
feeding and chemically induced nipple discharge. Yeah,
What the
I bet
fuck?
that's an image you're glad I put in your head.
Chemically
Pour that on your
induced
cereal.
nipple
I am
discharge.
sorry,
Okay.
that's a lot. So with that in
That's
mind, what will come as a
disgusting.
surprise to none of you is that this ideology, these movements, have finally pushed things way too far. And now they get to see the fruits of their labor
Yep.
come to fruition in
They
ways
pushed
that
it way
didn't
too
quite
far
expect.
like
As
3
most
years
of
ago.
you likely know, since day one of his presidency, Donald Trump has signed several executive
Let's go,
orders that have
Orange
brought
Man.
the insanity integrated into U.S. society over the last decade or so.
I will say we're a few months in and he's already doing a lot of shit that he said he was gonna do. Some of it good, some of it bad. Like, cool that we're cleaning up the government. Sucks ass that people are being caught in the crossfire and people who don't deserve to lose their jobs are.
The first was an executive order stating that the US government will only recognize two sexes. As an aside too, I find
Good.
it endlessly embarrassing that we needed someone to sign an executive order stating
Yeah,
that there
that's
are only
wild.
two sexes, given that this is something that we have understood forever. It is odd that the
the
last
beginning of
10
time.
years or so has completely eliminated all logic and reason. I struggle with this. The second executive order will essentially remove transgender and gender ideology weirdos from military service, rightly pointing out that the military's existing policy excludes people who have medical conditions and physical defects. The third executive order will end gender-based mutilation of
This
minors.
one's good.
And in his
All these are good. People will probably bitch and moan about the one about the military, but it's like you need to understand that the people in the military go through a lot of stress, and if you can't handle that shit because you're doing hormone replacement therapy, you shouldn't fucking be in the military. Or if you're trying to use the military to get the hormone, the sex change surgery and the therapy and all that shit for free, you shouldn't be in the military. It's pretty fucking basic common sense. Like, you're in the military, you're gonna be in highly stressful fucking places. You need to be mentally stable, and you're not gonna be mentally stable.
most recent move, Trump signed a fourth executive order banning
Let's
men from
go.
women's sports.
Obviously, the
Common
kids
sense
one
action
speaks
from
for
President
itself.
Trump ends the disgusting betrayal of women and girls by the previous administration, who for years catered to radical activists who wanted biological males to be treated as women in workplace showers, competitive sports, prisons, and
You know what I find funny is that these people are the exact same people that go around saying fuck the corporations, fuck the 1%, when they don't realize they're also the 1% of their own little social group and their own little movement. They're also the 1%. So guess what, Chucklefuck? The government's still catering to the 1%.
even rape shelters.
Once again, unsurprising to none of you, this has caused a lot of screaming from the usual suspects. But with all of this said, and with
Little
everything
rainbow
that I'm
hair
about to lay
flag
out
thrown
in the
on
rest
people.
of this video, I want to make one key crucial point that basically summarizes why we're talking about this.
What's that?
These executive orders have obviously resulted in a ton of screaming, but
Yes,
the people doing the
it's
screaming haven't
hilarious.
stopped for a single second to realize that they did this to themselves. So I'm going to
Yeah.
walk you through what led us to this point, and it's terrible, and I'm sorry in advance. But you want to know what I'm not sorry about? You
It's funny because all those are just article headlines and shit. The one for the military, it doesn't stop you from enlisting if you're trans and you've already done all that shit. It just stops you from enlisting pre-surgeries and using the military to like get the surgeries and essentially make missions unstable. You can still enlist, and do all that shit. You just can't enlist before you've taken care of your business.
You're protecting your private information, which is
funny.
why today's video is sponsored by Incogni. Ever Googled yourself? If you haven't, you probably should. Because then you too
Nah.
can be traumatized by how much information about you is out there and public. Information like your addresses, your birth date, your email, even your social security number. I know, I also find this really creepy.
Well, I
Data
mean,
brokers and data websites
didn't like everyone's social security numbers get leaked like I don't know, a few months ago? I remember this being like a huge thing. Like everyone's social security numbers here in America got leaked. And were thrown in the public.
are actually a huge issue, and they're the reason that you get spam calls and texts and emails. Because they sell your data to whoever is asking. And if you're like me and you find all of this deeply uncomfortable, well, I know a company that can help. Incogni. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf.
White screens.
It also handles any objections from these data websites. Incogni also ensures your data stays off the internet by conducting repeated removals, taking your data down if it pops up again. Which it can and will, because data brokers can re-add you. Privacy is actually hugely important to me, so I really mean it when I say that I genuinely love Incogni. Not only does it work, but it's insanely easy to use. You make an account, fill out the information you want removed, and grant Incogni the right to work for you. Then sit back and let them do all the work. Incogni also lets you protect your friends and family, which is why you can add up to 4 loved ones to your annual subscription. And if you're at all concerned, Incogni offers a risk-free 30 days. So if you don't love it, you can get a full refund on your service. So if you too want to take your data back from creepy data brokers, then click the link in the description or go to incogni.com/Sydney. And don't
Stay
forget to
anonymous.
use code Sydney for 60% off an annual plan.
Ooh.
I would argue that most of us, me included, started off pretty indifferent to all of this. I can only speak for myself, but I've always been pretty live and let live. You want to call yourself a man and live as one? Okay, no skin off my nose. You want to call yourself a Zim in your weird online community away from me? Okay, you do you. You want me to treat most people with decency, even if I don't agree with some of the things that they're doing, obviously, unless those things are illegal, that's the difference. Then sure. That's fine, I can do that. But you see, the problem is, these activists and the people in these movements have pushed people like me, and probably a lot of you, way too far. Somewhere along this
They try to
psycho road,
force
this
you.
stopped being about decency and the tenets of live and let live, and became about forcing compliance, compelling speech, forcing women especially into situations that are unsafe or make us feel deeply and inherently uncomfortable. And so the acceleration of this forced compliance and these crazy situations have forced people like me, the people who've long been in the middle, just floating around being pretty indifferent.
Just floating down the lazy river.
So now, no, I won't use your preferred pronouns. I don't want men in women's bathrooms and locker rooms, no matter how much of a wallflower that man is. I no longer believe that the Zims are harmless internet dorks. I see them as people perpetuating genuine mental illness with the support of politicians and academia and the medical community, and basically every other institution under the sun. So if you're here watching this, part of this group of people, wondering why it seems that everyone turned on you so quickly, or if you're like me and you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. This was always going to get like this, but Sydney, please tell me more.
Yeah, it's because they got fucking annoying.
Walk you all through how we ended up at this exact spot in time. And of course, it all started very subtly and insidiously, as these things so often do. In the early 2010s, progressive companies, HR departments, and universities around North America started adopting adopting preferred pronoun policies. The University of Michigan, for example,
fucking hell, that was
introduced
so
a
stupid.
system in 2013
Hey,
allowing
Tucker
students to
Carlson.
designate pronouns
Oh, he
he,
was still on
she,
Fox.
z, zer on class rosters with the expectation
So
that professors
fucking
comply
stupid,
with
dude.
this self-identification. Employees were also encouraged to add pronouns to their email signatures at particular companies. The concept of non-binary
If I ever
was
saw that
already
shit, I'd be like, yeah,
swirling
I'm
around
just not
Tumblr
gonna
and
work
Twitter.
here.
But now these fringe identities and psycho-neo pronouns were showing up in the real world. Non-compliance at this point wasn't heavily penalized. Everything was painted as voluntary.
Well, look like
but
you just
cultural
didn't
pressure started
have
to accelerate.
I'm
parental
non-binary,
figures.
and this is why I use this abbreviation and not this one.
Today I'm going to show you how to use
What?
a-air pronouns in sentences, so let's go! A-air pronouns are a form of neopronouns, and oh my goodness, isn't that just so beautiful?
So
You
one
know,
of the unexpected parts about
like
being
the
an adult
Nazis?
is the amount of times I'll be walking behind a woman on the streets and I'll like, skirt around because I got long legs and places to be. And then they're like scared because they think that I'm a man. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm on your team.
By 2013, Australia
No,
was
you
allowed
are
to
not,
use X
dude.
as a
You
gender
are
marker
not.
on
You
their
are the people they are
passports.
afraid
This was
of.
adopted by other places around the world. News outlets
They're not afraid that you're a man. They're afraid that you're a fucking lunatic.
like The Guardian and NPR started running pieces about
Why we need
non-binary
more than
identities,
bro? That's so
confusingly
fucking
using
stupid.
they to refer to these people. By 2014, Laverne Cox appeared on the cover of Time magazine with the headline, "The Transgender Tipping Point." Just a year later, we had Jazz Jennings on everyone's screen, the young boy who was marked as transgender and going through a very, very public transition. Celebrities like
that a
Miley
wig?
Cyrus were coming out as genderqueer, and at this time too, misgendering
God,
someone
dude.
online, calling a trans-identified male he, which you still really can't do here on YouTube.
Oh my god,
triggered
dude, that was
intense
so
viral
funny.
outrage,
Like,
doxing, social ostracism, and even job loss.
I remember that shit.
Social
That was so
media
funny. Like,
platforms
holy
were
shit, you want to be
banning
taken
people left,
serious,
right,
then
and
you act
center,
like a
and honestly,
lunatic.
they still kind of are.
Can you explain why misgendering is an act of violence?
A Christian teacher who was
Shut the
banned
fuck up.
from teaching for misgendering a pupil has lost his high court battle.
He got the axe for failing to use a
Bro.
transgender student's preferred pronouns.
Who
The
gives a
social
shit?
enforcement was fierce, and the legal enforcement wasn't too far behind. As we saw, that not too
So
long after
stupid,
all
dude.
of this, UK police were showing up at people's houses to arrest them for
I wonder if she'll talk about the fact that shit, here in the States, you could CPS would show up at your door if you like misgendered your own kid. I wonder if she's gonna talk about that. That CPS was literally separating parents and children, all because the parents weren't like on board with whatever the school was teaching about all this transgender fucking crap. Oh, but when we do it to fucking illegal aliens, all of a sudden it's an issue to separate parents from their children. Oh, but it wasn't an issue a few months ago when we were doing it to our citizens, right? Who didn't want to partake in this bullshit ideology, this made up crap. Yeah, it wasn't an issue then, huh? When we were separating children and from their parents. Oh, but now because it's illegals, it's a bad thing. Oh my god. So stupid.
misgendering people online. By 2016, Canada's Bill C-16 blew up in a major way.
Who?
The legislation was designed to amend
Oh
the
my
Canadian Human
fucking
Rights
God.
Act to include gender identity or expression, but all
Bruh.
it did was upset people about its propensity for compelled pronoun use. And
They did that, but they can't do a single thing about their fucking healthcare and not killing their citizens. Holy shit, dude.
it gave us
Canada,
Jordan
what the
Peterson,
fuck are you
who at
doing?
the time was a professor at the University of Toronto, and who
Yeah.
refused patently to use pronouns like "zir" and "they" for
Till they threatened to take away his teaching
In the
credentials.
same year, the U.S. Department of Education issued a directive to public schools that forced them to let trans-identified students use the bathroom and locker
That's
room.
wild. I remember I saw the South Park skit of this. It was hilarious.
Refused, they risked federal
You're gonna
funding
take it,
cuts.
toilet.
Around the same time, the New York City Commission on Human Rights declared that the refusal to use a person's preferred pronouns, including zir and here,
This is such a fucking violation of freedom of speech, in my opinion. Like, who are you to tell someone they have to use specific language? What happened to freedom of speech, the First Amendment? I'm sorry. I don't have to respect your fucking insane lunatic ideology, dude. I don't give two shits. It's called freedom of speech. Not oppression by feelings.
New one, could be discriminatory under city law with fines up to $250,000 for employers and landlords just because they don't want to call you here. It's spelled H-I-R. Yeah, I know. It's very weird. Unsurprising to absolutely none of you, after this, things started to go downhill pretty quickly. While many trans activists continued to argue that they just wanted to be left alone and live their lives, the wider population was being subjected to both legal and social compliance. Because of course they were! By 2018, they were pushing to erase women from discussions around pregnancy, motherhood, and menstruation.
Yeah, that's wild.
It excluded trans men and non-binary.
The thing that makes a woman a woman.
To change terms like woman to uterus owner or mother to pregnant person. Politicians started adopting this language.
They wanted to change mother to pregnant person. I'm sorry, but a mother isn't pregnant throughout all her lifetime. But a pregnant woman is a mother throughout the entire pregnancy. What?
The largest labor union in the country, the National Education Association, had been proposing a resolution for future contracts to replace the word mother with birthing parent.
You shifted from places from using the term mother to birthing people.
Health equity for black birthing
Oh,
people.
great, a mask wearer.
Birthing people.
When asked, American judges couldn't and refused to define what a woman is.
Can you provide a
These people just
definition
need to
for
be
the
fired.
word woman?
Then thrown in.
Can I
to a
provide
boat,
a definition?
Chucked over the ocean.
I can't. You can't?
That's wild.
Not in this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
To be clear, you wrote this while you were a sitting judge, 2017?
Not a biologist.
That is correct, after a case I had.
So, as I understand it, you don't think that there really is any clear-cut distinction between male and female as biological categories. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
That's what you wrote.
What am I even listening
That's not correct. That's what you wrote, though.
to interpret the law when they can't even interpret biology? This is alarming.
Yeah, that's
on
wild.
all the alarming levels. Kind of terrifying.
DEFCON 5 type shit right here.
The medical community was starting to participate. Of course, not
Yeah,
only
that's
in the language
so
changes, but
stupid.
the just
Holy
kind
shit,
of
dude.
general mass delusion that was taking place. People in these scientific communities started insisting that there were more than two sexes, tying themselves in knots trying to justify this position. We ended up with terms like sex assigned at birth and the insistence even from some outfits that men could
Pregnant men. No, they fucking don't. That's so stupid. Men aren't.
Dr. Kumar, can biological men become pregnant and give birth?
Men don't have a uterus and ovaries.
Men can have pregnancies, especially trans men.
Can men get pregnant?
No, if that's the case, then the trans man is just a woman. Sorry, not sorry. Said it. Said it. Ship it.
I'm not aware of it.
I said it. Send it and ship it.
Well, Mr. Secretary, materials coming from your department, you've referred to mothers as birthing persons, replacing that title with
Are mothers not persons?
mothers are persons, but it seems to be more inclusive, like you're trying to include another gender in that.
I'm all about inclusion, Congresswoman.
My name is Danny. I'm a non-binary birther. For those of you who don't know, I gave birth to my child 20 months ago at home. It was beautiful. It was a spiritual experience. Congratulations. Thank you. I did it as a non-binary person, not as a woman, just to be very clear.
Some medical professionals have insisted
That means
and continue to insist
you
that there
fucked
is
up
no
the surgery
difference
and you
between
kept your
trans-identified
ovaries.
males and a female when it comes to female sports. That men should be allowed to compete against women.
Oh,
giving
this
us
was
the likes of
wild,
Leah
dude.
Thomas and other athletes who have stolen opportunities and wins from female competitors.
In
That is
June,
so
a complaint
wild.
was filed by the
Imagine fucking 10, 20 years down the line when all this shit is dead and in the dust and civilization has gone back to being normal. Imagine what they're gonna look at when they see the world records that got broken, and they're gonna be like, yo, what the fuck happened here during this era? Why and how? And watch those records never be broken again.
The families of 3 girls who say allowing transgender athletes to compete in sports as the gender they identify with unfairly discriminates against their daughters.
But I also don't need anybody's permission to be myself and to do the sport that I love.
You're a fucking loser.
Like, oh, you're not a biological
You
woman.
still sound like a dude.
That's a fact. I am female.
No, you're
So
not.
all my identity records, my racing license, my medical records all say female, right? And I'm
Too
pretty sure I'm
bad.
made of biological stuff. So I'm a biological female as well.
I can't say what I want to
No.
say here. I will get banned from YouTube. I was
You're missing a
actually
few
quite
chromosomes
happy
there,
earlier
buddy.
when I read this article saying that the asteroid that's set to hit our planet in a couple years will probably not hit it
Apophis.
anymore. And then I watched this
Yeah.
clip, and now I yearn for the meteor. By this time, TikTok was in full swing, and you all know how much I love TikTok.
Oh, this
and it became
fucking
a
loser.
breeding ground for mental illness and all of this gender insanity.
They all look like
Young
fucking
people were
pedophiles, not gonna
ideologically
lie.
captured, and all of this started showing up much
just a whole
more
bunch of
in
child
schools
diddlers.
and in
This is
universities
creepy.
and in the medical field, where kids were insisting that they were
I
something
would not
other
let
than
children
their
around
sex.
these people.
To answer this growing demand, gender clinics started popping up all over the place. Doctors made lighthearted TikToks talking about performing double mastectomies on healthy young people.
Gender clinics across the country have seen a huge rise in child referrals.
Our journey with a transgender child.
You know, we've seen staggering growth in gender medical treatment for children.
My name is Ella, and
That is wild.
The UK's Tavistock Institute was prescribing puberty
What a
blockers to
great way to permanently
insisting
scar
children
these
must be
figures.
gender affirmed early on, lest they go and, do horrible things to themselves. The insanity was absolutely everywhere. Coming
They're gonna
at
hate
us
themselves for
from
the rest of
all
their
sides.
lives. You know it.
Rather than seeing this, rather than identifying the growing backlash and anger and frustration coming from the wider population and trying to be understanding, the trans activists.
I mean, how many kids do you see now coming out and being like, yeah, they did this to me and I fucking hate it and they destroyed my life because of it. The life that I will now never get to have or experience because of their actions. Like, how many times do you see those videos pop up on the internet and you're just like, God damn, this is why they don't deserve to have kids around them.
Gender movement people instead decided to double down. Wow, that's so
Yeah.
crazy. I can't believe they did that. That's just totally unexpected from them. Threats from trans-identified males towards women they label as hateful became commonplace. Images of women being
Bruh.
hanged with captions like "dead TERFs" or "kill a TERF" have circulated across the internet, cheered on by so many. While
Yeah.
they scream about just wanting acceptance, they
Yeah, what happened to all that acceptance and equality?
fail to rein in the worst actors among them,
Talk
including
about
those
fascist
perpetuating
behavior.
legitimately
Oh
violent
no.
rhetoric.
I was going to come here and be really fluffy and be really nice and say, yeah, be really lovely and queer and gay. No, if you see a turf,
Bro, you are fucking gay.
T-shirts with messages like "trans rights or else" and "protect trans kids" with
Bruh.
images of knives or guns.
That's cute. You fucks haven't even have never shot a gun. What are you talking about?
Have been seen at trans protests across the country. Countless stories about males exposing themselves to women and young girls in locker rooms and bathrooms have
Yep.
made headlines, met with
More
silence.
pedophiles, who would have guessed?
Of course. Incidences of women being essayed by trans-identified
Oh
males
yeah, I
in
remember this
prison
shit.
have gone ignored
In
by the
California,
community that
no
fights
less.
for their inclusion at the cost of harming
So
women.
wild.
Even the most hailed trans activists have behaved wildly inappropriately, with one incident making national headlines when Rose Montoya was seen partially naked on the White House lawn in 2023. The message
Yeah,
that
that's
everyone
wild,
who disagrees
dude.
with you must be a Nazi has eroded any attempts to reach common ground. But worse than that, it has emboldened people to continue making violent threats in
Honestly,
the name
at this point, I don't know.
like this video.
Rather
for
be
example,
one than
that
the other.
in 2023, where a trans-identified individual made several alarming remarks.
I dare you to try and stop me from going into a women's bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make. I dare you to try and stop a transgender woman in my presence from using the bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make. This is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple.
What the fuck are you gonna do?
Buy a gun.
You look like one slap and you're just gonna crumble
Transgender
like
brothers and
toilet
sisters in these
paper in
events,
water.
Protect the rest of us in the LGBT community, as I'm going to do myself. Because
You're
there are
such a
lots of people like me
loser.
who are not afraid to die.
I always find these type of videos really interesting because they're usually being made for people who can't even run up a hill. The people that you're instructing to get firearms probably think they're too heavy. It actually just makes me think of an army of David Huggs.
I'll be real with you. The people who you're suggesting to go get firearms probably can't even handle the recoil of a Glock.
And
We're being honest.
really intimidating. The notion that someone stopping you from using
You probably
a
can't even handle the
bathroom
recoil of like an
violence is a
airsoft gun,
direct
dude.
result of the ideas that trans activists have been spreading for over a decade. That anyone
No,
who
they
doesn't
haven't.
abide by the growing insanity
This is so wild. I always hate this stupid fucking argument of like, oh, they have always. No, they fucking haven't, dude. This is all new. This is all new made up shit because people were fucking bored during the pandemic. Like, holy fuck, dude. It's just baffling. They're like, oh, they've been around for No, they are fucking haven't, dude. And they're like, oh, women used to dress as men. Yeah, to fight in the fucking military because they fucking had to. Not because they wanted to. Holy shit,
of the
man.
gender
Like, it's
ideology and
wild.
trans movements is a direct threat. The many viral It's Man moments certainly haven't helped bring the public around to accepting these types of ideas and
Oh,
behaviors
yeah,
in
this
civil
was
society.
fucking wild, dude.
Once again, putting it mildly. Say what you want to about the It's Ma'am crowd, but they have given us a lot of very fun videos to laugh at over the years. I'm just trying to give you guys some silver linings here. The irony for me, and I'm not quite sure how to articulate this, but I'm gonna do my best, is that many trans activists and allies from the trans and gender-based communities, these movements, paint themselves typically as the victim in all of this, despite the fact that they are,
It's
in fact,
victim mentality.
perpetrators online a lot of the time, and typically are the ones making these situations even worse. I just really struggle to see how the most aggressive voices in a community and across an issue who are contributing to people getting doxxed and fired and harassed and whatnot are the victims and all of that. I feel like I am missing something. The dots are not all connecting.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of
It's
this
wild.
said, you might be asking,
They'll go out of their way to dox some dude on the internet and try to ruin their life, their relationship, work, and romantic and all that shit. And then go on the internet and cry that they're the victim because he didn't want to call me a she. Like, grow the fuck up, dude. Like, what fucking... It's just as ridiculous as the fucking slave argument that black people always make. We were slaves. Everyone was slaves at some point, dude. White people were slaves. Europeans were slaves. Mexicans were slaves. Everyone was a slave at some point. Every fucking race, dude. Just because you're black doesn't make you special. Sorry, not sorry. Because there's still, guess what, racism and slavery to this day. But we don't talk about that, do we? No, we choose to ignore that and look at the past. Like, holy shit, dude. What about black on black slavery in Africa? What about all that shit? Why do we ignore that? It's really odd.
Sydney,
Yeah,
what's
it's
the net
weird
effect
side
of all
rant.
of these things? Well, I will tell you. People are tired. They are tired of walking on eggshells, and they are fed up with being accused of bigotry or transphobia, lest they use the wrong pronoun with a stranger that they meet in the store. Many people.
You can only shake the bottle. Bleh. You can only shake the soda. Yeah, you can only shake the soda bottle so much before it pops.
Watching language be altered and erased to accommodate a fraction of the population, erasing age-old truths that we have known and understood since the beginning of recorded history. So yeah, it's not really a mystery why the pendulum is doing a backswing right now. Depending on your perspective, the funny or sad part here in all of this is how many people actually just used to wholesale support and or accept the trans movement and its
now they're like, nope.
and many of its people. But as time has worn on, those same people have become infinitely less accepting because of the tactics used by the trans community in forcing their acceptance. Are we seeing a trend here? In their attempts to basically
I feel like it's that, and these companies are seeing how the pendulum is swinging, and they're just following the trend. And I feel like it's both combined, but more so what she said, like 5%. And companies just following the trend of the pendulum swinging, like at 95%. They don't give a shit. They just want to make money. Why do you think every June they fucking do all that pride shit?
Shame and attack people into compliance, they have instead caused a ton of the broader community to jump ship. People don't take too kindly to children being exposed to things like drag shows, hypersexualized pride events. They don't like seeing drag performances at school assemblies and class education that is graphic and misleading, telling little children that gender is a spectrum and sex is not in fact immutable. The hostility with which trans activists and
I saw a kid's book called The Back Door, and it's a book about a girl friend, about a woman being convinced to try the back door every now and then by her boyfriend or husband. And I was just like, bruh, really a book? Really? That's okay.
and allies approach
If
arguments.
you get it, if you know, you
the
know.
refusal to acknowledge the realities of our biological nature and the constant attempts to change language to accommodate people's precious feelings has accelerated the disdain and anger in the broader community. And I can assure
Oh
you,
my god, these people look like fucking Batman villains, dude.
much worse. Or better, depending on which side of the aisle you're on and how you feel about all of this. By refusing to put meaningful, logical limits on self-identification, by blurring the lines between science and ideology and forcing their ideas onto the
We blur the
wider
lines between
population,
fact and
trans
fiction.
activists and their allies have ensured that all of the ground that they have achieved in recent years is going to be reversed. So the bottom line is that whether or not people agree or disagree with what's currently happening, the backslide of support that we're currently seeing and the reversal of policies that we're currently seeing is entirely self-inflicted. I am personally of the opinion that most people probably would have been fine continuing this live and let live philosophy had the trans movement and its activists not gone completely off the bloody rails. At one
Remember when it used to be just the LGB? Remember when it just used to be that? And gay people all over the country said that they just wanted the right to get married and that they just wanted to keep what they do behind closed doors and not flaunt it in front of everyone. Remember when they said that back in 2015, 2016? And look where we are now, just saying.
one point, there probably actually was a middle ground that could
Whenever
have been
Obama was in office.
Again, these people made damn sure that that was never going to be the case. And now we have very much bypass that stage. And just to be clear, I'm not saying any of this with a degree of glee or whatever. I honestly would prefer just to be left alone, but apparently that's just too much to ask. In the end,
especially in this day and age,
is that this entire movement is going to unravel. And honestly, although I'm not super sure what that looks like
it already
at its
is.
nth degree, I am very pleased that finally some sanity is making headway. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder, check out Incogni using the link in the description. As I have said previously, I unironically love this service, and if you are somebody who is concerned about your information being out there on the internet, definitely check it out. It might be for you. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this issue, where you also started off very indifferent and have ended up quite frustrated by all of this? Are you on the other side of the aisle, where you think that it's very necessary to pursue trans rights and gender-based things? Are you somebody who thinks that we are taking things now too far and that rolling back many of these policies is actually a bad thing? Do you think that it's a good thing? Do you think that it protects women and girls and ultimately is bringing society back to some sort of sanity-based equilibrium? Do you think that this is going to unravel ultimately, that this movement is going to kind of die a slow and painful death? Or do you think that maybe we can actually find a middle ground? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you are not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to hit that subscribe button, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I really like hearing your feedback. Of course, in the interim, my dear potato children, I hope you all stay safe and well, and I will see your very pretty faces in the next video.
All right, that was a good one. That was a good one. Holy shit, that was a long one. Fuck. Stretch. Oh, everything's cracking. All right. Well, yeah. So to answer her shit first, I used to be on the side of I did not give a shit. Then it just became so glorified and it's shoved down your throat that I'm just like, I don't care anymore. I don't like it. I'm in that boat. That sort of tends to happen with everything. It's like shit gets glorified, you get desensitized to it, and you're just disgusted by it. That's how I feel. Like, and then especially when it's forcefully shoved down your throat, like, cool, every fucking June, Pride Month, you see stores, or not even stores, just corporate fucking chains immediately switch all their shit to Pride stuff, immediately display it at the front of the store, shove it down your throat, and it's like, bro, why do you gotta be so extra about it? I mean, obviously I know why. They're trying to, like, you know, make that money, but it's like, dude, it's so bad because not everyone cares for it and not everyone wants to see it and shit. And it's just, it's wild, dude. It's wild. It's wild out here, but I'm glad shit's changing. What I also don't like is the fact that people don't know how to read, apparently, because people were losing their fucking minds when Trump first issued the first order, and then people were like, he's banning trans people, and it's like, he's banning you from being able to get trans surgeries, and the replacement, it's like, no, that's not what he's doing. That's not at all what he did. What he did was he made it so that way all that shit isn't covered by health insurance anymore, which is covered by taxpayer dollars. So in essence, he just made it so that way if you want to get the surgeries, you can. It just needs to be out of your own pocket and not out of the taxpayer's pocket. And in my opinion, that's a good thing. Because how the fuck Am I going to be out here paying taxes on health insurance that's supposed to be for like, or not even on health insurance, just taxes in general that are supposed to be for like maintaining the road and shit and ensuring we have clean water and all this other shit. And instead it goes to funding some fucking dude's delusion because he was bored and he wanted attention. Like, what? And obviously, like, some of these people need serious mental health. And it's very obvious and it shows. And I hope they get that. But they won't, because they'll never admit that they do. And it is what it is. But yeah. Anywho, let me know what y'all think. Rare Thursday video. I know I just had zero fucking clue what I wanted to, upload on Monday, and on Wednesday I just couldn't find anything. So yeah, Thursday upload, still within the week, still weekly upload. But yeah, anyways, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube shenanigans, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Later.